Hey there, and welcome to the 9th section of the SwiftUI course. In this one, we're going to learn how to create these floating buttons, and then we're going to learn how to summon a screen on top of this so that we can create a beautiful transition. The first thing we need to do is to create the floating buttons. And here we have text, but we can also have images inside the button. So let's delete the text and then summon a view, and in this case it's going to be an image. So double click, and we're going to use a system icon, so system name, and we're going to set the name from the SS symbols. It's going to be list.dash, and there you go. I'm going to change the color of my icon to be black, so I'm going to use a modifier called foreground color and set it to black. Then I'm going to create a box containing the icon, and I'm going to use the H tag. So command click the image and then embed in H tag. The H tag is going to have a frame of 90 by 60, and then I'm going to set the background. I'm going to leave it at blue for now so that we can see what's going on. And then I'm going to set the corner radius to 30. And finally, the shadow is going to be 10. But the shadow here, if I want to customize it even more, I can just delete the radius and then start typing radius. And we have a second option, which is in the auto completion. And here I can customize a bunch of other things like the color. So for example, the color, I can set it with parentheses using the button shadow. And then for the radius, I can set it to 10. The X, it's going to be 0. By the way, you can press the tab key to go to the next value. And for the length, so the Y position, it's going to be 10. It's really fun to play with the drop shadow because it really adds a lot of depth to your design. And what I like to use is a radius of 10 and 10 or 20 and 20 to have it even more spread. So you can definitely play around with it. In this case, I'm just going to leave it to 10 and 10. For the color, I use the button shadow, which is from my style guide. And then I think we can set this background here to white. So now we have this really nice floating button. If you look at my menu here, I'm kind of moving to the left of my screen so we can only see half of it. And also we have some padding here. So what I'm gonna do is to align my icon to the right. So I'm gonna create a spacer. And so now I need to add a padding. So I'm going to put padding and from the trailing to 20. So now I just need to position it so that it's at the top left of the screen. You can use the Z stack to position it to the top left. So I'm going to command click the button and then embed in H tag for now. Let me just fix the indentation first. And here I'm going to switch to a Z stack. The Z stack, I'm going to add parentheses. Then I'm going to type alignment colon dot top leading. So I'm going to use this auto completion right here. Now, when you do that, make sure that you have a spacer in your Z stack. So I'm going to add spacer. Otherwise, it does not take the whole screen size. For the other two buttons, they're very similar in terms of styles. So I can just copy this Z stack right here. And if you do a command click, you're going to see where it starts and where it ends. So I'm going to copy the entire thing and paste right underneath. Now I have two of them and I can just customize it. First of all, we're going to put it to the top right. So top trailing. Then for the size, I'm going to set it to 44 by 44. and I don't need the padding anymore, and I don't need the spacer anymore. So now it's fully centered. Let's customize the second icon. This one is going to be person crop circle. Because I'm gonna have two buttons here, I might as well create a component. So I'm going to command click the H stack right here and create a subview. So extract subview. I'm going to name this one circle button. This circle button is going to be customizable. I'm going to want to change the icon. So let's command click this, and then let's declare a variable for icon. And by default, we can set it to, let's say, this one. So I'm gonna copy and paste in between the quotes. And now I can just replace this by icon, the variable that I just declared. Now I'm gonna go back at the very top, and here I'm going to embed this in an H tag so that they can be placed next to each other, like so. Let me resume this so that I can see what's going on. So now I can just copy and paste a second button, and you can see that it just appeared. So that's great. So I'm going to customize the icon, adding an icon right here. This one is going to be person crop circle. And then for the second one, it's going to be bell. Great. So I have these two icons. Now we're ready to set up two more components for the top left and then for the top right. So for the top left, I'm going to select the Z stack, command click, extract subview, and it's going to be named menu button. It's very important to set the binding because we have a state. So I'm gonna go to that component and set my binding. So binding var show of type bool, so boolean. Then going back to the top of my document, I just need to pass my show state. So show, and then here $show. Let's do the same for the other component. So this is Z stack, command click, extract subview. This one is going to be called menu right. Again, we're gonna need to set up the binding. So jump to definition and then set the binding. So commercial A binding var show of type boolean. So now I'm gonna go back to the top and make sure that I'm passing the binding state. So let's test this. And by the way, if you don't see that this is working well, you can always restart Xcode, or you can just reset this and click on play again. And when you see the pointer, that's when it works. So they're all working using the same state that shows the menu animation. So now it's time to bring another screen to the home screen. So it's just like the menu view, but in this case, I'm gonna bring the content view. So content view, parentheses, and you're gonna see the entire screen of certificates placed on top of home. But because this is placed on top of my home view, I might want to add a background. I might want to add some around the corners and maybe drop shadows. So let's do that for now. So I'm gonna bring and add a background. I'm gonna set it to color white and set the corner radius. I'm gonna set it to 30 and add a drop shadow to 20. Then just like the menu, I'm going to use the offset to take it out of the screen. So I'm gonna use the offset modifier, so offset parentheses. And here I'm gonna use the Y position and then use UI screen dot main dot bounds screen.height. Using the screen height, I push it way down so that we don't see it anymore. Now I'm going to use animation states to bring it and toggle and show and hide. So I'm going to go right here and set a new state. Var show profile is equal to false by default. Then the offset, it's going to ask, is show profile question mark, is it true? If so, set it to 0. If not, hide it. All that's left now is to pass the show profile instead of just the show menu. So I'm gonna set $show profile instead. And then when I click here, then it shows the profile. The next thing I'm going to do is to place the menu buttons on top of this view right here so I can click it again to dismiss it. So I'm gonna cut this and put it right after the content view. So now if I click and I click again, it's just gonna toggle it back and forth. Alright, so let's take care of the animation now. Right before the offset, I'm gonna do .animation parentheses, and this time I'm going to use fluid spring and use the one that is by default with nothing in the parentheses. And this one is kind of like the spring animation, but it's slightly different. So let's take a look. That's kind of nice. Let's fix the offsets a little bit so we can push this screen a little bit down and then this button a little bit left and these buttons to the right. So the first thing is I'm going to put this to 40. So now it should drop right here. And the second thing is I'm going to push and have some offset so that it's not so far in the top. So I'm going to go to the menu button and set offset. X is going to be -30. Y is going to be 80. Then for this offset, I can just copy and paste to this one as well. And this one is going to be -16 and then 88. For the animation, I'm going to use spring, so I can just copy and paste on the other ones as well. Then I'm going to set some animation states for the Y position. So I'm gonna ask show profile. If true, question mark, then I'm gonna put 0, otherwise set it to 88. So let's do the same with the other one. So show profile, question mark 0, otherwise 80. So it's gonna create this really nice animation like this. I can even set this one for spring and the other one for fluid spring so that I can see kind of the difference between the two. So now we have this really playful bouncing buttons at the top, but this one doesn't bounce. So you can definitely play with the timing of your animations to create a bit of a parallax effect. I just want to take a moment to appreciate the fact that we just summoned an entire view from anywhere, from any of our components, and we managed to just bring that on top of our main view and then animate it. I think that's really awesome. In the next section, I'm going to teach you how to create the main design, the main view, and then have a scrolling for either vertical or horizontal cards. So please stick around, we're gonna have a lot of fun. See you soon.